Hey, and welcome to Going Beyond in Marriage. We just wanted to share a little bit about our personal testimony of how we met. We get a lot of questions from people that we work with at church or people that the Lord brings across our path for us to counsel in second marriage, counsel in blending of family, counsel in divorce and separation, and all those things that both Clint and I have experienced. So we just wanted to take a few minutes and share with you just our personal story. And it's a God story. It is definitely a God story. And so we hope that you're blessed by this conversation that he and I are just going to have, just a general conversation with each other and with you about what that looked like for us and how we walked through that with the Lord and where it got us where we're sitting today. And so, do you want to start with the first topic that we feel like is important?
Yeah, well, we met. A lot of people ask how we met. We met at the wedding of a mutual friend, someone that I worked with at the time, and it was a longtime friend of Hannah's. And I was invited to the wedding and showed up. And when the wedding was over, Hannah and another friend of hers were working back, just sort of helping with some of the food and the refreshments and stuff. And I went over and just kind of hung out, and I guess later introduced myself and helped them clean up afterwards. I had nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, and certainly thought I couldn't, think of anything better to do than hang out with somebody that I thought was really attractive. So I hung out and helped clean up and break down all the stuff at the end of the wedding. And then a day or two later at work, this mutual friend of ours asked because she knew I was single at the time, and had just kind of jokingly asked about some of her friends. She asked if I had spotted anybody at the wedding that I was interested in, and she named a couple people, and I said, no, who I really want to know about is Hannah. And her reaction immediately was like, I don't know. I don't think she dates. I don't know. And I said, well, just ask her for me. Just ask her for me. So, I mean, you can kind of fill in some of the blanks from there about how it went.
Well, that was true, and it was a fun wedding. And actually, my dear friend that I was in her wedding is one of our participants in the Marketplace Ministry interviews. Tammy, she owns the farmhouse and the coffee house, the farm coffee house. And you'll see that on our Marketplace Ministry interview with her. But her and I had walked through a season of our lives where I was a single mom and just really dating the Lord for a season of my life, learning who I was and what kind of husband that the Lord would want me to choose for myself and my children. So when I met Clint, and our first date became very intentional. We were very intentional about our dating and the things that we chose to have conversation about over dinner, chose to have conversation about over the phone, and chose to have conversation about with just sitting and talking and getting to know each other. There wasn't a lot of playing games. I was very serious about the fact that I wanted to be married to a godly man. I wanted to be married to someone who was as passionate about ministry as I was passionate about raising godly children as I was. And so we were very intentional about our conversations, such as these are my standards, these are my deal breakers, this is what I'm looking for, this is who I am, and this is who I'm not. And we didn't play a lot of games with each other. And so very quickly, my heart was sold to him, and that terrified me coming out of a very long, exhausting relationship before him. And I asked the Lord specifically, God, if this is not the man that you have for me to marry, that you would quickly interrupt these plans, because my heart and my just everything about my spirit and my heart was just so attached to who he was as a person and to his spirit and to the Jesus that I saw in him, that I was quickly just starstruck. And I did not want to go through the pain of that not working out for me. So I laid a fleece out before the Lord. Clint, just a few weeks, less than a month after we had met, was leaving to go on a mission trip to Ghana, West Africa with his church. And while he was gone, I simply just, that gave me about 14 days with no contact with him whatsoever. No phone calls, no texts, no dinner, no nothing like that. So I told the Lord, I said, okay, God, if this is the man that you have for me to marry, I need a sign before I get in any deeper with my emotions and my feelings towards him. So I told the Lord, I said, don't let him come back from Ghana and from this trip with some just cheesy souvenir. Let him come back with something significant for our future, like something for our home, or I didn't put any specific detail on the gift that I had asked for. I just said, let it have some meaning to it, that it would be something for us, not just a souvenir for me. And lo and behold, I picked him up from the church when they got back from their trip and took him to his house and helped him get unpacked and unloaded. And he said, I got you something while I was gone. And I thought, okay, here we go. It's going to be some magnet that says Ghana, West Africa, or, just something cheesy like that. And he says to me, I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this, but I got us a piece of art sculpture for our home one day. And he opened that, gave me that bag, and it's the most beautiful mahogany carved sculpture of a couple praying, and their hands are making like a heart, but it's beautiful. And so from that point forward, I was all in. I jumped all in with both feet, and because I had my confirmation from the one that matters, from the only one that matters. It didn't matter that my friends said, oh, he's a great guy. It didn't matter that, the way I initially started to feel about him. None of those things really mattered. The biggest, most important thing for me was, God, am I doing the right thing? And is this the right person for my life and for my children's lives? Because it's not just about me. When you're a single mom and you have kids and you're starting to blend someone else into your life, it's not just about you anymore, and you have to take those things into consideration. So do you want to, talk to him about just our first 24 hours after we got married?
Well, it's our like Hannah was saying, I mean, we were very intentional during our dating, and that's something that we recommend to a lot of singles, be they married before or not. We talk to them about when you start dating, especially as you, I don't want to say get up in years, but when you've gone through the normal teenage and early 20s dating thing and you start getting more serious about it, we always just explain to people that they should be a little more intentional about their dating and more straightforward with getting to know the other person. we jokingly tell people that our first 2 dates were more like a job interview than actual dates.
They were.
So,
They really
yeah,
were.
It was, but we were okay with that. It wasn't awkward and it wasn't cold, but we were just very forthcoming with one another. I wasn't necessarily asking difficult questions, but she was just being honest with me about things, and I was being very honest with her about things that I wanted and expected, and things she needed to know about me. Because another thing we tell people is know going into dating or a relationship what's important to you. Make sure you're clear in your head of what you need from a mate and what your deal breakers are. That's just as important as knowing that if you find out something about this person and it's one of those things it's a deal breaker, then stand by that. And so we found out pretty quickly, as Hannah mentioned, that we were like-minded where our walks with the Lord were concerned, where ministries were concerned. And so we really felt passionate about just advancing the kingdom and living a life of ministry. And so what's interesting is when we got married early in the day, and had a lunch with some friends and family. It was a very small ceremony, a very small affair. The wedding itself, it was just Hannah and I and a pastor, our kids, and a few friends that were doing some music for us, photographing, videotaping, stuff like that. Just a handful of us. So anyway, we left and to go on our honeymoon, and went down, and our first stop was off which island, I can never remember.
St. George,
St. George
Island in Florida.
We stayed in a little place there in St. George.
It was an inn, an old inn.
Yeah. And the girl that checked us in at the front desk, when we checked in, we asked where there would be a good place to go to church the next morning, because it was Sunday.
And it was Easter
Sunday. Right. So we wanted to go to a church service and ask her a couple questions. She pointed us to a good church to go to. So we went to church the next day, and the church was a nice little church. They did a wonderful job. Their kids put on a wonderful little Easter show. And when it was over, we got up and Hannah just kind of ushered me out, and I said, I feel kind of bad. I mean, we're visiting their church. We didn't say thank you. It was a good little show. Nothing. I mean, we just scooted right out, and I felt kind of bad about that. But Hannah just kind of insisted we needed to go. Well, we got back to the inn, and our door was open, and just as we were coming in, the lady that checked us in was coming out. She had been cleaning the room. So, it's just kind of a very small, 1 or 2 person operation. So she was coming out. We would have missed her had we hung out at the church for another 5 minutes. We would have missed her. So just as we're coming in, she stops and she said, I know y'all are Christian. Can I talk to you for a minute? And of course we said, sure, and went in there, and she and Hannah sat down on this little seat, and I sat on the floor across from them. And how long was it?
A couple of hours.
Yeah, for at least 2 more hours.
We sat and ministered to her, and she opened up and she cried, and we prayed with her, and we just sat. I just stand in awe still that we had not even been married 24 hours. And in our room, in our honeymoon room, here we were already counseling and encouraging and praying and edifying and restoring this young woman back to some truth about who she was in Christ and the hope that she could find in him. And it was so humbling.
And affirming. I mean, that's the interesting thing about it. It was so affirming, because we have many times looked at each other and other people that know the story and just said, we knew that we were meant to be in ministry together. I mean, it was affirmed within the first 24 hours of being married. We're ministering to someone and love it. I mean, that's the thing. We both are so passionate about it, and we both love it so much. It was neat. It was just kind of a, to me, that was just kind of a wedding gift from God.
It really was. It really was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It really was just almost the most special thing that we got to do on our honeymoon. I mean, we enjoyed each other, and we enjoyed going into this second marriage correctly and doing things above board, and we enjoyed all of those special moments. But wow, you can't, I mean, that's one of those things where you hear people say you can't make that up. That you can't make up. And God just dropped that down in our laps, and we were kind of just in a state of bliss the rest of our trip after that happened.
It started and affirmed sort of again the fact that we were going to be in ministry together. And it's an interesting thing that, here we are, like we said, less than 24 hours into our marriage, and already we're having the opportunity to minister to people. But another interesting thing that has happened, and that happened within several times within the first year to two that we were married, is we would run into people, and people would comment. They would ask us how long we've been married, and people assumed that we had been married for years and years and years, just because of the way we were with each other. And again, I mean, that's very much a God thing, and very much just a thing of being prayerful and mindful and intentional when you're dating and choosing somebody to share your life with. It was just, our dating was easy. It felt easy. It felt like we had known each other for years. And yet every day was just kind of new and neat that we were getting to explore it together. But it's so funny at how many people thought that we had been married for years and years, and commented on it several times within the first year or two of our marriage.
And even when we were dating, I think we had,
that's right,
gone to see your family for some holidays, and we would go to Walmart or the grocery store and pick stuff up, and people would just automatically assume that we were husband and wife because we were together, and we were that connected in our souls and our hearts and our spirits. And that's the funny thing about God is when you're letting Him conduct and be the instructor of your relationships, friends, husbands, whatever those relationships are, is that He redeems lost time to the enemy. He redeems, He comes in and He redeems and restores those years that the cankerworm had eaten. He restores those years of loss that you feel to sin and to a bad marriage or singlehoodness. He restores all of that and makes it, He brings it into this state where you almost don't feel like, you feel like that was a movie. You feel like, wow, was that actually a part of my life? Because you don't feel the loss of, say, the 20 years that you were in a toxic marriage, that 3 years were a single mom. Those kind of years that you feel are so wasted, they're not wasted when God brings restoration into your life. And that's the beautiful thing about our second marriage has been, I don't feel like there's time been wasted in my life like I did when I was just going through separation and divorce. I felt like, how am I ever going to get these 20 years back? How am I ever going to get this time back to serve God, to be a better parent, to be a better person, to be a worker for the kingdom? How am I going to get this time back? And when God took over, it evaporated. The gap in between now and that time that was spent evaporated, and it came together and closed. that space closed for me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, it just, I mean, from the beginning, it was all very interesting because, I mean, and this is just a side note, but we separated, divorced, and were separated from our first spouses almost exactly the same
Same dates,
time.
same year,
Yeah,
same
almost
month,
everything was
same
concurrent.
month, all of that. And we didn't even know each other. We had
Yeah.
never crossed paths before in our lives.
Not before that wedding, yeah. Not that I'm aware of did we ever see each other, but it's interesting. It's like God just sort of just decided to hit kind of a reset button for both of us
Exactly.
and bring it together. So
Yes. And so within the first year of our marriage, we went on 3 major overseas mission trips.
yeah,
And
but
it was back to back ministry, back to back. We went to Bible college for a year. We graduated from that. We went on 3 mission trips. We went to Nicaragua. We went to Ghana, West Africa twice. We worked with our church. We taught in a Bible college in Africa, which was so much fun,
Yeah.
so amazing.
yeah,
We're both teachers at heart, so it doesn't matter who we're teaching. We love, that's our passion. We love to teach. We also started working with, or actually I was already working in addiction recovery, which you'll hear about on another video. And I brought Clint in with me because he's such a leader. He's such a man of wisdom, where business and finance and employee staff management and conflict resolution and all these amazing qualities that God has just pumped into him over probably the last 20 years of his life, where he just pours into people and one-on-one coaching and mediation, and there's so many assets that he has to offer to the individual and to the workplace and to the ministry place. So I brought him into that ministry with me, and it's been amazing ever since. And we'll talk more about that on the addiction recovery video. However, it's been nonstop since we met each other, that our marriage is not about us. We have come to grips and been humbled so many times that our marriage isn't about what I want and what he wants. It's about the kingdom. It's about God. And we've resolved ourselves to those things, and we enjoy doing those things together. We enjoy doing those things separate sometimes, when it's just focused on women, when it's just focused on men, something along that line. However, we're powerful together, and we know that, and that's not a what's the word I'm looking for?
Boastful
like
or
a
prideful,
boastful comment. That is knowing that God put us together for a purpose,
Yes.
and that we're walking in that destiny very intentionally and very passionately. We're passionate about each other, but we're passionate about the work of the Lord and about ministry. We're passionate about other people. And so that would bring us into the final thing that we want to talk about, is just what's next. What do you see is next for
well,
us?
it depends on how far you want to go into. Well, for one, I mean, we sort of live in that question, what's next?
Yes.
I mean, we really do. We live in that question, what's next, because we are constantly praying and seeking the Lord on what He has for us next. We keep moving forward, but we always try to make sure that when we're moving forward, that we're doing so with our eyes and ears and hearts wide open to what He would have for us. We try not to run out ahead of Him, but we do try to be obedient and move in directions He feels like He's leading us. And so we'll generally chase something until He shuts a door in front of us, is how we usually play it.
Yeah, you go until you hit a stop sign.
Right.
And then you ask for direction.
Yeah. But so, what's next for us is, a next step for us was obviously this website. We felt that this would be a really fun and hopefully a meaningful thing for us to do to allow us to be able to
Yeah.
reach out to some more people.
Well, it's been pushed. That part's been pushed by so
Right.
many people. Is
Yeah.
that y'all need to be doing some fun stuff. Y'all need to be sharing the passion that's on the inside of you. And so we really felt like during COVID that's when this really happened, because the whole world shut down for a year. And we really started working on this website, and it's taken an absolute year, because I'll build a page and tear it down, build a page and tear it down. And really, it's been so intentional. Every little nook and cranny of the website, and these videos and these teachings and the blogs and all the parts combined, the work, our businesses that we own and those kind of things. And it's just that full circle of God in every aspect of our life, our marriage, our life, our work, our family, our faith even. And that's been the fun part about doing these videos and just really starting to share who we are in God and what He's pumped into us to give out to other people that are interested.
So, a big next step for us, obviously, and we talk much more about this, and you see information about it on the website, is a transition center. We feel like that's what we're being called towards right now. That and some other small things. We've got other things that we're doing on the side, but the next big step for us is pursuing this transition center, and we talk a lot more about how that came to be in a video that we've done about the transition center itself. But that and just doing some other creative ventures on the side just seems to be what's brewing right now. And we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, we're big into marketplace ministry. We love business owners using that platform as their church, their way to spread the hope of Jesus, to spread encouragement, to pray for people, to watch healings manifest as their customers and their clients walk in and need prayer. It's just the awesome church today. I am very passionate about marketplace ministry. I'm very passionate about transition recovery. I'm very passionate about seeing people go beyond where they are, restoring foundations, cracked foundations, absolutely torn down, destroyed foundations. It doesn't matter what condition you're in. We're just super passionate about taking you beyond where you are and getting you unstuck. We've both been stuck for so long that we've both needed a leg up for so long that it was just time for us to start sharing what God walked us through and taught us. And we're excited about that. I will say this as we close. We've been very intentional about communication and conflict resolution, working through our differences, working through things that we absolutely don't agree on. A lot of times videos and social media and platforms that you choose to share your life and your ministry with others can appear to be smooth and perfect, and that's just simply not true. That's not a transparent way to live your life. And so I want to be very honest with people that are going through the separation, that are going through a divorce, that are going through seasons of singleness,
Or
raising, or
difficulty in your marriage.
or just difficulty in your marriage, just one chasing God, one not chasing God, or being just at different levels of your maturity, whatever the case may be. We've been there and we've done that in our marriage just as well as the marriages that didn't work out in our lives. And let me say this, we both really did not want to be divorced people. We wanted our first marriages to work out, and we really wanted to not take our children through the curse of divorce, if you will, because it's hard on everybody when you choose that route. So I say that to say this is that our marriage isn't perfect, but we're very intentional about making it be healthy. And there's hope for you. Let us know your story. We love when you share your stories with us because it builds our faith.
Mm-hmm.
Our stories just don't build your faith, but your stories build our faith. And we love testimonies. We love to hear where you're at. And if we hear something from the Holy Spirit when we're reading your story and listening to your testimony, we're happy to share those with you. And so I'm grateful that you're watching and that you're listening and that you've given us a chance to share our story. And we love you and we love the Lord, and we look forward to anything in the future that would cause us to cross your path.
Yes.
In Jesus' name.
Yep.